Welcome to today's Postgrad Insights session. Today we're joined by the University of Westminster to talk about the TESOL course that they offer. And for those of you that aren't aware what that means, it's teaching English to speakers of other languages around the world. Now, just before I hand you over to Sean Sutherland, who is a senior lecturer in English language and linguistics at the university, a reminder that today's session is a live session. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything around today's topic, please email myself, Gareth, at postgradsolutions.com. We do have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so if you've got any questions at all, please do let me know or put it into the chat facility as you'll see at the bottom of your screen. But for now, I'd like to hand you over to Sean. Sean will take you through the next 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. And I'll see you at the end. Over to you.
I am, as Gareth said, my name is Sean Sutherland, and I am a lecturer at the University of Westminster, and I am the course leader for MA TESOL. Kasia, I don't see the slides yet. Are they coming up? Yes, just one moment, please, everyone. The slides are coming up. Thank you, Kasia. So, as you can see, we are the University of Westminster. We are a university that has been around as an educational institution for over 100 years in London, England. And we have, here you can see me, right? Sean Sutherland. As I said, I'm the course leader for MA TESOL. I have a PhD from the University of London. My PhD studies were about language and linguistics, and particularly teaching English to speakers of other languages. So I think it makes sense that I'm here as part of this course. I've been at the University of Westminster for 15 years now. Hello, I see someone's put up a hello. Hello, everyone. Thanks for that. We don't need to all say hello, but it's nice to see one or two. Thank you, Sana. And my job as course leader is, as it says here, to support you as you complete your studies on the TESOL course. Kasia, could you show us the next slide, please? So at the University of Westminster, we offer TESOL in a variety of ways. You can take the course on site at the university, or you can take our distance learning mode course. The two courses are equal in terms of the value of the course. They are both fully accredited by our university. They meet the government requirements and government standards of the government of the United Kingdom. And you can take those courses full-time or part-time. If either on-site or distance learning, the full-time is 1 year, the part-time is 2 years. And you can start in September or January, again, for both courses. Now, today I am here to talk to you about the distance learning mode, but I can answer questions later if you want about the other mode at the University of Westminster as well. Kasia, next slide, please. We have students, as it says here, you may be wondering, well, who would I be studying with, right? We have some students who do not have any experience. That's something that distinguishes us from some other courses. You do not need to be an experienced teacher in order to take this course. So if you've done your undergraduate degree and you want to get into teaching, you can do this course. Of course, we do also have experienced teachers whom we help to progress and upgrade their skills and look towards moving onwards and upwards in their language teaching career. If you want to know further details about entry requirements, you can look on the course webpage at the University of Westminster. It's quite simple to search for University of Westminster MA TESOL. Kasia, next slide, please. Our students, as you can see, we think that they are happy with us, both in any mode that they study with us. Right here you can see some happy looking students, and on the other side, you can see even they seem to be happy when they're with me. I guess I'm not that bad, maybe. Good. So we've got students from all over the world, students who are experienced teachers and students who are new to teaching, right? Next slide, please. Just so you can picture where you would be in terms of your situation in the university. We are, of course, the University of Westminster. We have more than 20,000 students enrolled across our various campuses and some online. The university is divided into separate colleges. We are the college within the university. We are the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Within the college, we are divided into schools. We are called the School of Humanities. And then the course is called MA TESOL. I'm telling you this just to show that although, of course, you would probably be thinking of yourself as an MA TESOL student, you are part of a much larger organization. You're part of a school, part of a college, part of a university. And so you have access to things at various levels. Sometimes there are special online seminars for students within the School of Humanities. As a member of the university, you can take advantage of things that we have ranging from, use of special software and common software, using our careers development service, and so on. So yes, I'm sure you're thinking of MA TESOL as the primary reason you're here to hear me talk today, but we do have a lot of other things at the university that go beyond that. Next slide, please, Kasia. Now I'm going to talk to you about the modules you would be studying if you did the MA TESOL degree. Now, just to be clear, here at this university, like many universities in the UK, when we say module, you might think of that as your class or your topic or your subject or your course even, right? We use the word module to mean the topics that you will study as separate parts of your degree, right? So I hope that's clear that you would be doing the MA TESOL course. To pass the course, you will take these 5 modules. You must complete these 5 modules, and then you would earn your MA TESOL degree from the University of Westminster. I'll talk briefly about each of these modules. And of course, later on, if you have questions and you'd like more detail, you can ask, right? Kasia, could you go to the next slide, please? So language and learning, as you might imagine, is one of the essential things that we must discuss if we're going to talk about teaching English to speakers of other languages. This module focuses on language itself. What is language? How does language work? And then, so, from basic things like grammar and lexicography and so on, right? How does some discussion of how language works. I'm sure you know a lot about that already. And then talking about what do we know about language that helps us teach language? What do we know about language that helps our students to learn language? Next slide, please. Language teaching methods. Again, I think the name is reasonably self-explanatory, right? How do we teach language? Over time, ideas about language teaching have changed greatly. Different contexts, different countries will have different methods that they prefer for language teaching. Some focus heavily on teaching using grammar. Some focus heavily on teaching by practicing communication, by talking and writing and so on. So in language teaching methods, we look at those varieties of language teaching strategies that people might use. We evaluate them. Which ones do we think work better generally? Which ones do we think work better for certain specific situations? You may not want to teach the same way for beginners as for advanced learners. You may not want to teach the same way for children as for adults. You may not want to teach the same way for people with different special educational needs. So in language teaching methods, we look at a broad range of those topics. Next slide, please, Kasia. Materials development and the next module are quite similar in that in materials development, we talk about how to make language teaching materials. When you go to the classroom and you're going to teach, what should you prepare in order to help you teach whatever goal you have for that day, right? Are you teaching vocabulary? Are you teaching some grammatical point? Are you teaching something about pronunciation? So in that module, you will practice looking at material for teaching that other people have developed and then evaluating it. What's good about this? What's bad about this? Which students might this work best for? Which students would this probably not be suitable for? So you'll look at other people's materials and then you will develop some of your own materials that would be suitable for teaching in whatever context you plan to work in. That can be very useful, for example, for job hunting. Often in many places, as part of looking for work as a teacher, you might be asked to show a lesson or actually teach a lesson using materials that you've developed. So this will help you be ready for that. That module, materials development, like I said, is similar to the next one. Kasia, could you go to the next one, please? Where we talk about the same sort of ideas, but in relation to making tests. I really think this is something that is specific to our course in TESOL that many other courses do not focus on. If you have experience as a language teacher, or if you don't, I can tell you, often testing is left as a small afterthought, right? People are trained to be teachers. They feel comfortable going into a classroom and managing the class and assigning tasks and giving feedback orally. But we're often not taught what is a good test. How do I evaluate a test in order to make sure it's actually testing what I want? Which students should I be using which tests for, and so on. So like with the previous module, here you will look at other tests and evaluate them. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? You will also develop a test of your own that you could use in the future, either in a classroom or as a demonstration of your abilities as a test developer. Finally, for the last module, Kasia, could you go ahead, please? This is the capstone of your work as an MA TESOL student. You write a dissertation. For the dissertation, you can write about pretty much anything you want related to teaching English and teaching English to speakers of other languages. You do the research, you gather data, you read books and so on. Perhaps if you want to write and research about teaching, you might do some interviews with teachers, you might do some surveys, you might do a focus group. So you'll be doing some hands-on primary research like that. This is really what distinguishes a master's degree from an undergraduate degree in many cases. The collection of primary data by yourself with the support of a supervisor, but you're doing the work, you're leading the work in order to do research about pretty much anything. Like I said, people have written about language teaching and learning in countries all over the world. People have done research on beginners or advanced learners, about how to teach reading, how to teach listening, and the other of the 4 skills, right? You will have a supervisor who will guide you through that. When you're finished, you will have a nice big research paper that will be a very strong demonstration of your skills, both as a researcher and as a writer in the field of TESOL. You may be thinking, okay, so as a student who is taking the course in distance learning mode, what do I actually do? Once you've enrolled on the course, you are enrolled on those modules. You don't take them all at once. You take 2 in one semester, 2 in the other semester, and the dissertation runs the course of the year. If you're a part-time student, you'd take 2 one year, 2 the second year, and the dissertation would run the course of the second year. You may be thinking, what do I actually do? We tried to make it simple by using an acronym WRAP, W-R-A-P. Kasia, could you show us the 4 steps? You might as well show all 4 steps of the WRAP structure, please. So each week you start by watching a video produced by one of our lecturers at the University of Westminster. I'll show you a couple of slides of what the videos look like in a second. You can do this at your own time. All of this is done at your own time, right? You go to the online site for the module, you watch the video in which the topic is introduced, then you are given guidance on what to read. All of the readings are available online through the University of Westminster Library. You do not have to buy any books for this course. So you watch a video, you read in order to deepen your knowledge of the topic. You have an activity or activities which allow you to interact with the lecturer, with other students on the course. It's asynchronous. You don't have to log in at a certain time, right? You can do this at your own time so that people all over the world can participate equally. And then you work on producing your assessment using weekly guidance. So I think number 4 there is something that really distinguishes our course. We don't tell you write an essay and then just leave you to write the essay. Every week you'll be given small bits of advice on what to do this week. Just 100, 200, 500 words max, right? And even 500 is only near the end, right? Where we say, okay, this week we just want you to think of a topic and write 2 sentences introducing your topic. And then maybe the next week we say, please find online 2 books that you could use to write about this topic. So week by week, we scaffold, as teachers will know, we call it scaffolding, right? Building up step by step. We scaffold your work on the assessment so that you have guidance all the way through, so that you're not left having to write an essay in the last week or the night before or something like that. So this is how you would progress through the course. For each module is made of topics. For each topic, you'll start by watching the video, you'll read to learn more, you'll interact by writing something or recording yourself talking about something, and then you'll work on the assessment a little bit. On to the next, please, Kasia. You may be wondering how you are assessed, right? What do you actually do in order to get your grades, right? This is important, of course, for students. There are some essays. The dissertation is a research project where you actually, as I said, gather some data yourself. You do a presentation, recorded, of course, right? You can record it using simple technology and then upload it to give it to us. You don't have to present it live, right? Because this is an asynchronous distance learning course. There is teaching practice, again, where you can record that with a couple of your friends acting as students or your family or anything like that, even presenting to no one, but just as if you were teaching. So you could do some teaching practice. And as I said, when discussing the modules, you'll create teaching material and you'll create testing material. On to the next, please, Kasia. Just so you can see what it looks like when you're going to the videos in order to start learning about each topic. You'll see things like this, right? And Kasia, maybe if you just give us a couple seconds on each of the other lectures here, if you go to the next slide, just so that people can see that they will be getting direct input from our range of experienced lecturers, right? Here's Dr. Park, here's Dr. Julia Pepe. Another one, please, Kasia. Here's Kingsley talking about why do people learn English. Maybe one more, I think. I forget how many I put, right? Here's Catherine Mansfield talking, right? So you'll see different people from our university giving you input, just as the same range of lectures that you would see on site, you will also see it in the distance learning mode. Thank you, Kasia. On to the next. You may be wondering, what do I do with a degree in TESOL? Of course, most of our students go into teaching, right? Completely understandable. It's right in the name, right? What are you doing? You're teaching English to speakers of other languages. Some of the other jobs that our students go into are listed here, right? You can browse down the list. Of course, some go on to further study, working towards completing a doctorate, right? So when you did your undergraduate degree, if you were like me, I finished university when I was 21 or something, and I left and I thought I will never go back. And then 7 or 8 years later, I found myself back at university doing a master's degree, like you're thinking of doing. And that's the first step going to possibly, it doesn't happen for everyone, but possibly into a research career or an academic career, right? I left university after my master's degree and thought, that was great, I will never go back. 6 or 7 years later, I was back at university again, doing a PhD, right? So long-term plans, right? These, you may not be thinking of that at all, right? But neither was I. Eventually it happened, right? So having a master's degree does move you on in that direction should it come up. Even if you, like me, you never thought it was going to happen. Kasia, what have we got left? There's only a couple slides left, everyone, and then there will be time for some questions if you have them. So what should you do next, right? If you have questions. So you can see my email address there, right? It's always fine to send me an email, right? Sometimes people write and say, you know, sorry to bother you, or they say, I didn't want to ask, whatever. It's fine, right? You can always write me with questions about this course. It's part of my job to answer them. I love this job. I'm happy to answer them. So it's fine to write to me directly. I will either answer you or I will direct your question to the correct team at the University of Westminster if I can't answer your question directly. The course inquiries team can give you general information about the university, can give you information about the course, of course, as it says in their name. The postgraduate admissions team, that final email address, they can help you with questions about the application process, right? You must apply through the university and you must upload certain documents and so on. They can answer questions about how to apply. I can answer questions about the course. What do we teach? How do we teach? And so on. If you want to know about, requirements as an applicant, it's best to go straight to the PG admissions at westminster.ac.uk team. So last slide, Kasia. Thank you very much for your attendance, everyone. Now I will stop talking. I'll have a sip of my drink. Gareth will tell us if there's any questions that need answering. If I can answer, I will do so. If I can't, I'll explain how to get other information. Thank you, Kasia, for your support. Gareth, over to you.
Superb. Thank you, Sean. Very, very informative. Have a drink, like you said, most important thing for anyone watching, if you're speaking, public speaker, teacher, have a drink close by. Look, thank you for that. We do have a few questions come in, and actually there's a really good point from somebody that's just asked a question. Are you eligible for the TESOL MA bursary if you have a master's degree already? There will be loads of people that have perhaps already got a master's degree in something else, and now they want to change the scenery. Is that possible?
So it partly would depend. it depends on where they are, right? I mean, if they're applying as a UK citizen or resident, or as a resident of somewhere else. But and that's something that really you should discuss with the fees office, right? Because I can't possibly answer for the whole world. Within the UK, generally, though, the government will only support you for one master's level course, right? So you would not get another bursary if you already have been supported for one in the UK. But that's something that you can ask our fees office. If you don't know the fees office email address, email me, I'll tell you. If you or email the course increase team and they can tell you. Thank you, Gareth.
Excellent. The next question would be around fees. And look, Sean, I think you've just made your point perfectly clear there that speak to the admissions team, speak to the fees team. Somebody has asked, what are the costs? Now, what I can say is, having done some research and spoken to you guys beforehand, looking at the course detail page, what I can say is the cost for UK and international is actually the same. And that's one of the main benefits actually for an international student, is the fact that you're not classed as you are classed as an international student, but you're not a foreign student coming to the UK, therefore charged higher, which naturally happens because it's done online. There are some huge benefits, and that's one of them. So if you do have any questions around that, please head over to the course page on the University of Westminster website. It will be listed in an email later on today. So if you've got any questions, guide yourself over to that way. Sean, a
And
question.
let me
Go
just
on,
add
Sean.
on, Gareth. Everyone should be aware that because we have two courses, we do have two separate course pages. So you want to make sure you're looking
Yeah.
at the course page for the mode that you want, the on-site or distance learning. There are two course pages.
And
Uh,
I want to touch upon what you spoke about, Sean, very briefly. You mentioned that, I think you mentioned teachers. You know, a lot of people watching will see teachers and think it's in the name, I'm going to have to be a teacher. But there are so many different opportunities that this door will open for you. Do you want to talk a bit more about that? Because people will just think, oh, teacher, I have to be a teacher. Well, you don't. You could, you could be an editor, you could be a copywriter, you could be a librarian, like you mentioned. And so from that, and what do you see within your courses?
well, okay, so the list I showed you was a list of employment that graduates from our course specifically went into. Yes, most of them go into teaching. Don't forget, everyone, that okay, so the course is called Masters of Teaching English. So the teaching English part naturally leads to being an English teacher or anything to do, many jobs to do with language, language teaching, language learning. The master's part, though, does open up the possibility of going into positions that have to do with research and not necessarily with teaching English, right? I mean, we've had students go into roles with in local government. You know, government gets money through tax; they have to figure out how to spend it. So, how do they know how to spend it? Well, sometimes they do research. They'll survey the population and say, should we spend money on fixing the roads or on more books in the library or what have you, right? So the master's part, right? I think it's really important that students see that there's the MA teaching English. Those are two separate things. The teaching naturally is about teaching English. The MA part is once you earn the degree, that's a signal that you know how to do quite advanced research and writing about that research. And so that can open those other pathways, right, into things to do with local government and so on.
Excellent. Important to point out, it used to be a closed door. Whatever you studied many, many years ago, that would be the career path you went down, whatever the name said, but it's not the case now. Um, One of the questions that's come in is around online versus campus study. What would be the benefit to those that are watching to come and study online rather than to do a campus-based related course, let's say? What are the pros and the cons?
Right. So in both cases, because of the way the courses are validated, approved by our university, we're saying that you are getting parity, equality in terms of content, right? You're not missing something in terms of what you will learn by being online or by being on site. You're getting parity of content. Uh, Obvious differences, though, of course, will be the fact that for the on site course, you're at the university and can more easily meet people and so on, right? We can't replicate that experience, obviously, when we are working at a distance learning. On the other hand, distance learning students benefit from the much reduced cost, right? You don't have to buy plane tickets, you don't have to get a visa, you don't have to find a place to live in London and so on, right? So there's that's a benefit for the distance learning. And of course, distance learning students can study whenever it's convenient to them. You can watch the videos and read and so on at a time that suits you. Once per week during the teaching weeks, there will be a live session, synchronous live session with a lecturer from the university. Me or someone else on our course team will be waiting on a platform like Zoom. We call it Blackboard, but it's virtually the same, and you get it as part of your enrolling on the course. So once per week, distance learning students can meet online with their lecturer and with a small group of other students. It'll be like a tutorial, a small number of students with a lecturer, at which point you can talk about whatever you want to do with the course, right? I don't know about this topic, or you might say, can you tell me more about this? Or how do I finish my assessment? Or how can I use the library? Whatever, right? So distance learning students will benefit from face-to-face synchronous interaction with lecturers at the University of Westminster. Thank you.
Excellent. And what happens when you graduate? Because obviously, I'm interested from that perspective. Because obviously, when you're on campus, you've got everything around you. You go to a site, you graduate. You know, you got the hats on. What happens when you're an online educator? What happens from there?
Students, of course, get the degree, right? We we mail the actual paper degree anywhere in the world, right? So you don't have to come here to get it, and then you're fully accredited as a graduate of the University of Westminster in the same way as everyone else. The ceremony that you would attend if you were here obviously can't happen in the same way, but we have an interaction with you where we congratulate you and read your name and say you are now a graduate of the University of Westminster, and the paper comes to you separately through the post. No one hands it to you directly, right? And then you're a graduate of the University of Westminster.
Excellent. Just final question as well. We've had come in from Neela Mateen. She very rightly points out that the MA TESOL and the MA Applied Linguistics are very similar in terms of, on the face value of it, in terms of the types of careers that you could achieve off the back of it. What would you say to a student when they're looking at what to apply for, to look out for in particular, and how can that relate to them?
So applied linguistics, as you can see in the name, linguistics is the study of language, and applied is used here in the same way as like applied engineering, like using the knowledge to solve real world problems. So TESOL is specifically devoted to solving the real world problem of how do we teach and learn language better. Applied linguistics is more broad in the sense that they may look at other issues to do with language problems, some of which overlap with TESOL and that we do talk about. Applied linguistics, you might talk about things like discrimination against people who have certain languages, or discrimination against people who have a certain accent within one language. It's really a matter of thinking of the focus. TESOL, obviously, we talk about those sort of things. Why is there prejudice against native speakers of some forms of English and not others? Why is there sometimes prejudice against non-native speaking teachers of English? So we certainly talk about those issues to do with the application of theory to try to solve these problems. How can we teach people that your accent doesn't mean that you're stupid, right? That you can have an accent that's different, but it's still perfectly communicative. So there's overlap between the two, the obvious difference being that TESOL focuses specifically on the teaching part, applied linguistics focuses on other aspects a little bit more. My master's degree is Master's of Applied Linguistics. It hasn't affected my ability to work in the field of TESOL for 25 years or something since I finished, right? Thank you, Gareth.
Excellent. And just one final point as well. The enrollment dates. I know they will probably be pointed in the direction of the admissions team and whatnot, but are there any intakes that are coming up imminently? Are there any open events that you guys are looking to promote?
So, so the enrollment once you're accepted on the course. I mean, when you say enrollment, we mean specifically when you actually join the
When you
course.
apply,
Right?
when can you start the course? Yeah.
Yeah. So the next enrollment date would be in late September, right? So if you're applying now and you want to join the next group of students, you would be applying to start in September 2024, right? And so you would actually start the course in late September 2024.
Excellent.
Did I miss part of you? Did I miss? Was that a two-part
No,
question?
that's everything. Sean,
Okay.
thanks for that. I appreciate you've spoken a lot there, but I think we've covered quite a lot, which is fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being part of it. Go on, Sean. Please do.
Sorry, someone you did. I know what you said. You said, are there any future open dates or something?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
We do have another one coming up that'll be very similar to this, though. Kasia could probably give us the actual date. I'd have to look away at my phone, which I don't want to do. But Kasia has put it up there. June 5th is the next one. So if you want to come and hear me talk again, but it will be very similar to this, there's the PG Open Evening. But Kasia, that's at the university, right? I'm talking about, we have something coming up.
I just looked at the website. Then it does appear you have one coming up potentially on the 26th of March.
Yeah, March 26th. We have one next week.
Hosted. Yeah. So anyone watching, please do bear that in mind. We will send them information on it. So if there's anything that you've missed throughout this session, it might be that you are interested, but you just need to further your knowledge a little bit more before committing to such a big, let's face it, a career investment. So, Sean, thank you very much. We look forward to working with you again soon. We look forward to hearing from you again. If anyone's missed anything today, please do head over to the on-demand session that will be live on postgrad.com as of next week. If anyone has any questions about one of our bursaries, which we've been promoting for £2,000, that's on our screen at the moment. Anyone from anywhere around the world, distance learning, online learning, campus-based, can apply for this bursary. It's £2,000, and postgrad.com are handing out 5 at the end of September. But for now, I'd like to thank you for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you soon. Sean and Cassie are in the background as well. Thank you for everything, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.